Hello, people of the internet. My name is JD Shadow, and we're going to be talking about Matpat, the game theorist, and what he posted a couple days ago about the whole situation involving Five Nights at Freddy's and Scott Cawthorn and ResetEra, because yes, they decided to respond to his video in their site, because their site is going to be the only place that they're going to tolerate such backwards logic like they are in order to respond to not only his video, but to somehow condemn him and to somehow still hold on to their beliefs that Scott Cawthorn is somehow a bigot and all this other stuff. You know how it is by now with ResetEra. They are the scum of the video game internet. I have never seen a website that is so dedicated in their path to put up neoliberal, woke scold commentary and ban anybody who has even a hint of a different point of view. And if you're not banned for having a different point of view, you will be soon, because they'll find a way, they will definitely find a way to ban you with whatever excuse they decide to pull out of their ass that day. Trust me, they're making the rules up as they go along in order to purge any sort of dissenting viewpoint from their own, to pretend that it never exists. They want to make it into an echo chamber, and it would not be even half as bad if developers and journalists did not visit the site and think that was the majority opinion. And then they'll sit there and say that us YouTubers are the ones with the toxic communities. But before I go any further, let's talk about what Matpat said in his video. Posted a video discussing the now infamous situation involving Scott Cawthorn and his donations to political entities, to political candidates. Most of them were Republican, and most of them, which was the crux of this whole discussion and the crux of this whole controversy, to people who had a history of going against social justice issues, with the exception being Tulsi Gabbard, who was a Democrat. But a lot of neoliberals don't like her because she seems to be more of a centrist Democrat. She seems to be more of somebody who is not going to go along the establishment. And we have talked about her record on my previous video, and I will link to you in the card up above to that initial video, because we all know the real reason why they don't like Tulsi Gabbard, because she is for net neutrality and, more importantly, the Restore the Fairness Doctrine Act of 2019. That's something that she had sponsored, and that is something that I do believe that a lot of people who were in the media did not like her doing. If you notice that it was the second that they did that the Young Turks suddenly started to smear her in McCarthyism-like ways. And yeah, this is getting brought up because Matpat did post a video, a 25 or so minute video, which I'm not exactly going to go into great detail about it because I want you to actually watch that. Link will be in the description down below. But in it, he says he's still going to continue to support FNAF, and he tries to explain the reasoning behind Scott Cawthorn's donations. And there was one particular reason that I wasn't aware of. I was trying to figure out what was the common ground that a lot of people who he donated to was, and according to Matpat, it was the foreign affairs business, the military, keeping our country safe. And to some people, that is a very important element. That's a very important topic to bring up. National security, especially if your family is a military family and you have people in your family that are a part of the military, who were a part of the military, me being one of them. But also, he goes into things that I talked about in my video with Tulsi Gabbard, which is back in 2013, she was against LGBTQ plus marriage and relationships and stuff like that, but her mind was changed and now she had supported that. Now, he does go slightly into detail about the issues that were brought up in 2020. However, he did get that a little bit wrong. Tulsi Gabbard was talking about trans athletes in sports, which is a very controversial subject, a very sensitive and very hot button topic right now, and it's something that has a lot of different viewpoints, a lot of different nuances, a lot of different viewpoints that I don't think gets expressed, don't get examined with any bit of justice to them. And he does go into the two-party system and how the lesser of the two evils is what we have to go upon. And all of that he said eloquently. All of this he said perfectly. And he said in a way that even the most hardened person, even the most hardened progressive or Republican could understand what he was saying. So you would expect expect that someone would praise him for it, right? Well, most people did. And most people in his comment section were exactly civil. I did not see even one person in that comment section that was vitriolic or hateful or anything like that in his comment section. So you expect that people would be mindful and praise him, right? Well, let's get to what ResetEra thinks about this, and let's just say that first of all, they were the main ones who wanted him to say something about this. And I say this, quite frankly, because of some hypocritical language that they decided to post in this thread. Now, I am going to show you a lot of these comments, and I'm going to not blur out the people who posted it. I usually do, but I feel as though it's going to be a lost cause because you can go onto the site and you can figure out who posted the comment anyway. So it's kind of a lost cause for me to do that, to edit out the person's name. If it was on Facebook or Twitter or something like that, maybe I could understand the reasoning for that, but this is ResetEra. All you have to do is see the post number at the top right of any comment, and you can go to the thread page and you can see who posted it. So it's not exactly a worthwhile cause to try to do that if people can go and see it anyway. Now, before I show you the first screenshot, I'm going to mention that something else that Matt said was that even though Scott had left the development and now he's retired, that doesn't mean that there are several developers, several designers on the team, and they deserve to have just as much praise and just as much support as Scott was given. Keep that in mind when I show you this particular screenshot in which they are saying, oh, well, he's just trying to get money because he made so many FNAF videos. Matpats videos on FNAF get some of the most views on his channel, and thus they do rake in a lot of money. Now, before we go any further, I want to mention that ResetEra, as you know, is dead set against YouTubers because they don't have a middleman. Keep in mind that we don't have to worry about a big conglomerate. We have to worry about Google, of course, but we don't have to worry about people like EA or Activision or any other big conglomerate video game company to tell us what we have to think, what we have to say in order to keep their shareholders happy. We don't answer to them, and these people hate that. People hate that we can not only call out those conglomerates, we can also call out the game journalists when they screw up. They don't like that either because they send money to them. They actively, people who run ResetEra give money and they scratch each other's backs, if you will. They will go onto their own sites and they will regurgitate whatever ResetEra is in a way that the unsuspecting public will not realize is coming from this fringe neoliberal woke scold site that bans anyone with even a hint of dissenting opinion by making up a rule that was never there before. This one caught me by surprise at first, but I do believe that I misread this at first. I thought this was meaning that they were condoning something that Matpat was saying that he fully condemns, which is the doxing and harassing of Scott's fan base and Scott himself. But he's saying, oh, well, Scott's fan base is suddenly going to go and harass Matt. Or was it what I originally thought? This seems to be a really weird comment in order to say. However, if we go through some of these comments, did then go on to the Tulsi Gabbard situation, which I have already said. And I don't have to go into great detail about what Tulsi Gabbard did and why they don't like her. I have already mentioned this both in this video and in the previous video. I don't have to say it, although if you are only getting your information for ResetEra, why would you only get your information from these people? Then of course you're going to think that Tulsi Gabbard was always homophobic. She was always this way. She was always that, and because she did it at one point in time, that means that invalidates any other thing she did after that. This is cancel culture in its purest form, and I don't use that term lightly. And one of the particular comments in this one is the one that says this is the cowardice of pro-capitalists without conscience. They can support civil rights, but when it affects their purse strings, they can't make those sacrifices and so have to contend with the moral dissonance by using the audience and other people as shields. Isn't that what the companies who were trying to Fox say that they were for Pride Month and made Technicolor avatars of their logos for a month without even giving a crap as to hiring people from those Pride communities? Isn't that what you're for? Aren't you the capitalists? Aren't you the neoliberals? Aren't you the people who are doing that? We're the ones who are calling that out. You're the ones who are suddenly saying, oh, well, that means this. You're completely warping what that means. You're trying to take who you are and project it to us and saying you're not it. And there's going to be a common theme as we go through this. First of all, they don't mind using certain profane language and profane words. And second of all, this is so black and white. There's no nuance to be had here. And there are very few dissenting voices here. And you probably already know why, because this is Reset Era. We've seen it be well documented by this point. And some of these comments are them trying to say, oh, well, he tried to justify him defending Scott by bringing up the military funding, the military side of things, and glossing over the anti-LGBTQ plus communities that he was supposedly being against by donating to these politicians. And they somehow try to backwards put Tulsi Gabbard in with those politicians. And you will see that they even tried to downplay the Trevor Project donation that was given by Scott, which Matpat brought up in his video. They try to cover all the bases, yet they actually don't do any of that. But one person in particular said that they were writing a big comment for a video and they were scared to post it because of how they perceive the fan base of his and Scott's to be, already being prejudiced of their fan base before they even go and post a comment. Now we know why they feel that way, because they know that as soon as they post it, that people are going to call it out as being fringe in nature. It's going to go way too far to the fringe and they're going to call it out. Calling out something for being fringe is not the same thing as being harassing. And plus, we don't know what they were going to post and how they were going to post it. If they were going to try to go and attack the person on a personal level, then yeah, you're going to get called out for it, and rightfully so. Who is going to just let that happen, especially someone on a YouTube channel which they were trying to keep things civil? Why do I get the feeling they were going to try to post inflammatory comments and try to call that civil, and then go the opposite direction when they figure out that that's not going to be tolerated? Keep in mind that I don't tolerate that on my channel either, and you are going to get called out if you do that. But of course, they tried to characterize his YouTube comment section as being full of toxicity, and that's the pot calling the kettle black. And kettle is actually non-existent. There's not even a kettle there yet. Think there's a kettle there, and you're calling it black anyway. And I can go and cycle through all of these different screenshots. They all say pretty much the same thing. And yeah, there are a few people to try to break through the echo chamber, and I can assure you that they're probably going to get banned at some point too, because they dared to say something to dissenting viewpoint, a slightly dissenting viewpoint, and that's all it takes. But the main gist of it is that they think the reason a Matpat is continuing to support Five Nights at Freddy's is because he's getting money from the videos he's making, not because he wants to support those developers and writers and artists who are still working on the project, and that he wants to try to look at the real reason that Scott decided to fund these people, and that he's justifying it by saying that, hey, Scott has donated to so many people, including to the Trevor Project. And that is not invalidated by him donating to, newsflash, who he wants. It is a free country still. If you don't like who he donated to, that's too bad, because it's still a free country. I don't have to tell you who I voted for. I don't have to tell you who I donated for. I don't have to tell you any of that. And if you try to ask that and you try to harass me doing that, I can take action on a legal front. And you have no right to demand that kind of information from me or from anybody else. But there are a couple things that I want to point out specifically. One is this whole notion that they were asking, why did Matpat post this video now? Weren't they the ones that originally wanted him to post something? That they were demanding he say something right then and there? The reason why he said he didn't post the video right away, because he wanted to have time to digest the information, that things were going way too fast for him in order to take into account. That they wanted him to do a knee-jerk reaction. What they wanted him to do, and what he wasn't going to do, was to just suddenly say, you know what, I'm going to cancel him right away. That was not what he was going to do, and that's what they wanted him to do. And anything less than that, anything less than a full condemnation because of this subject being the absolute only subject that they seem to really care about, about, and they don't even do that right, shows you a whole lot about what they feel about politics in general. And if you want to talk politics, if you want to debate someone about politics, yeah, I'll go in the deep with you, because I know a good bit more than what you think I do. I have followed this a lot more than some of these people ResetEra have done. I was following these types of things while they were still in diapers, so I know a good bit of this stuff, more so than they do. And by the way, these are the same people that say, oh, the military, that doesn't matter to us in this sense, then suddenly turn around and think that we should blindly support one country or the other on the Palestine and Syria conflict. These are the exact same people that want us to do that and say that IGN was not in the right for changing up their Palestine flag the second they got called out on it. These are the exact same people that did that. So let's not kid ourselves. They only support things if it's convenient for them, and they don't even support the LGBT plus community, because if they did, they would not turn on people the second they had even the slightest bit of dissension on their other viewpoints. I also want to show you this particular comment, which apparently seems to want to compare Scott Cawthorn to Harvey Weinstein as if these are the same things. Harvey Weinstein was a monster of a person, but Harvey Weinstein did all of those horrible things which I can't get into because of monetization, something else that YouTubers have to worry about, which ResetEra seems not care too much about, and then turn around and say, well, Scott Cawthorn's crimes are akin to Harvey Weinstein. Makes sense to me, right? I also want to show you this one down on the bottom here, which apparently he watched the entire video, he claims to watch the entire video, and if you see his comment, that's all he got from that. That was all he ever heard out of that. Here's one who had said that the Trevor Project donation is canceled out by his other donations, when, yes, apparently they didn't hear the entire points or didn't actually take anything seriously. But the one thing I do want to mention is this one right here, saying that people who never seem to want to support dev when it's about not buying or supporting a game or creator or any other reason like disliking microtransactions. This is actually pretending that the funds, that the money that is being sent to the company for those microtransactions are going back to the developers and the artists that created such content, or is going straight into the pockets of people who are supporting things like crunch and making life harder for said developers, for said artists to do the work that they want to do. Remember, again, these are the same people that think that the crunch that was suffered and what made Cyberpunk 2077 a mess that what it was not the real issue. The real issue was, oh, well, there was a poster that we took out of context, and we wanted to take out context because CD Projekt Red decided to slam us and call us out. That to them was much more important than taking down developer crunch and improving the work environment of developers and artists and coders and stuff like that. To them, that was not as important as bitching about the poster that they only saw one way, so that was the way it had to be. And then CD Projekt Red had to waste their time, which they didn't have to begin with, to address that point because they wouldn't shut up about it. But again, this is stuff that I've already covered. This is stuff that I've already went through. And this is showing you a grand problem with ResetEra. They saw the entire video, or at least we all think they did, and this is all they got out of that. They are doing whatever they can to continue to hold on to their black and white belief. They saw Scott Cawthorn donate to candidates they didn't like, so they decided to go on that and that alone. And no one that ever told them anything different was ever going to get through to them. Matpat can talk about this stuff till he turns blue in the face. ResetEra is not going to care because they have something against YouTubers. They have something against anybody who donates to any sort of Republican for any sort of reason, and they will take this one subject and will blow it up to fringe proportions when it is clear that, one, they don't care about that community at all, yet they pretend they do, and suddenly they think they're progressive. They are not. Believe me, they are not. I know true progressives. These guys ain't it, chief. And you know, outside of the few people who try to break through, their views are never going to get challenged because whoever would challenge their beliefs got banned ages ago. And this is the website that a lot of game developers and game journalists will go to, and they will agree with these people, and they will go to their blogs or whatever, and they will regurgitate whatever they say. This is a scummy website. This is is run by absolute scumbags who will go through any sort of mental hoop, any sort of mental gymnastic in order to reach the conclusion they want to get to. I have never seen confirmation bias this bad. They watched a 25-minute video and the only thing they got was Matpat defends a bigot and Matpat just wants money and trying to pad a video in order to get it. We should not be surprised, but we should not be just laughing this off. How many more times are we going to have to see ResetEra do this? You know there are certain people who are going to take this seriously. You know this is a big deal. You know that at no point did ResetEra ever condemn the doxing and the harassing and the death threats that Scott did in a serious way, if at all. If they are not condoning it or encouraging it, they sure as hell ain't condemning it. And this doesn't even go into the heart of the matter, which is why in the world did someone want to feel the need to divulge this information in the first place? What prompted the guy to even find this out? Even go on to opensecrets.org and to actually find this? That is kind of sketchy anyway. Now, Scott Cawthorn did confirm those donations, but why did they feel the need to go there in the first place? What action did Scott do that made him want to go there? Apparently, he was trying to find a way to cancel him for something else, whatever that is, we don't know. But the fact of the matter is that somewhere along the line, Scott pissed somebody off enough to want to find a way to cancel him, and they found this, which was never their business in the first place. Which the site itself is kind of shady, it's kind of hit or miss because of what we found out when I did the first video, so it's not completely reliable, but apparently it's enough for ResetEra to decide that this guy's worth canceling. Is this ever going to stop? It's going to have to come down to us taking ResetEra seriously enough to want to ask developers and journalists, why do you keep going to this site? Why are we continuing to put stock into this site? NeoGAF is still available, and they're quite sane now. Evilore has done a great job in cleaning out that site from the filth that end up here. This, what ResetEra is filth, and we need to really examine this. Matpat, you did a terrific video, you have a great community, and Scott Cawthorn did some great things, and we don't have to agree on everything that he does politically, but that is why this is a free country and the First Amendment exists. And yes, there's a lot of nuance when it comes to politics. Trust it from me, someone who has followed it for years, a lot longer than these people have of this joke of a website that is ResetEra, that there's a lot more to things like politics or what have you than these people would have you to believe. And that's not a theory, that is a fact. My name's JD Shadow, that just happened.